about lifestyle, beauty, fashion, travel, and a lot of attitude. We got Adaleta up next. Hello, Adaleta. Welcome to the call. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am fantastic. And so, just, real quick to provide a little context for all the listeners, share with us who you are, your story, your background, where you came from, and, how you got into your field now, which is obviously a passion. You're very good at it. So kind of give us the 411 on who you are.
Absolutely. So my name's Adaleta, and I am known as Attitude on social media, on my blog. I started it back towards the end of 2012 before blogging was really a thing. Nobody really knew about it. They thought I was writing my diary online. And I originally started just reviewing beauty products. That was kind of the main thing. I would buy an eyeshadow palette, I would buy a new foundation and kind of tell people if I liked it or not. And I was very honest. If something was awful, I really just said, it's terrible, don't waste your money. And people appreciated that honesty. So I started that kind of towards the end of college. And it was a senior writing college project where I had to figure out one topic and write 10 blog posts about that topic. So I chose to do that back then, and then it kind of just started to be a blog and a business over time. I stayed consistent with it just because I did have that passion for makeup and skincare.
Hmm.
But this all kind of stems back to hard work and my parents and the fact that we came from Bosnia. We came here to the US when I was just 5 years old. So
Hmm.
we came over with pretty much nothing. And it was always my passion to figure out a way to make a business that I would be happy with long term. I didn't want to just do the 9 to 5 and say, oh, I hate my job. I wanted to really find something that I love long term and just thrive in that field. So I feel like I got to that point and I love what I do. And here I am still reviewing beauty products, and I'm talking more about skincare now and how to make your skin look youthful
Hmm.
for longer.
So less cosmetics and more skincare, because they're two different things. I know,
Exactly.
I know that much. I know I'm a guy like, do you use shampoo and conditioner? No, whatever I wash my body with is what goes on my head. Like that's
Yeah.
fine. It's there. That's what I have.
We need to
Yeah.
talk about that after this. But I have some recommendations
No,
for you.
I
But
mean,
yes,
I know I shouldn't be like, I know enough that way. Like, I know I have the serums and the face creams, and
yeah,
parabens are
yep, yep.
bad, and like, the sodium lauryl sulfate in soap is not a
Yep.
good thing.
Okay, so you know the
If it
basics.
foams up a lot, that's probably not a good thing, because that's the same thing
Exactly.
as like that they're using like engine degreasers, and I'm not completely uneducated, but there's also a lot I don't know.
Yeah. No, you
And
know the basics. Those are all good points.
there you go. See, there you go. So being half Asian can only get me so far. I still gotta maintain. But really, I mean, I'm glad you brought up those topics. I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes, but I really do kind of dive into those where hard work, because I'm anti-lazy and I'm anti-entitled, and all of
Yep.
these, oh, poor me. Well, good, get off your butt
Woe
and
is
go do
me.
it. And like,
Yeah.
nobody
Hmm.
cares. Nobody cares what
Yep.
anybody thinks, and authenticity. And so, do you think that a lot of the just kind of no sugarcoating, 100% authentic, like if you want it, get out there and work for it? How much of that do you feel really came from being an immigrant
Hmm.
or being raised in America by immigrants? You know what I mean? Is it more your
Yeah.
journey, or is it more like my parents, we moved here and they made the decision to move here, so they were going to beat hard work into me because they're not wasting
It's
the
definitely that.
sacrifice,
Because when we first came here, my parents were afraid of everything. They were like, you're not going to Disneyland. You're going to fall out of the roller coaster. Like there was that fear because
Uh-huh.
these things were not a thing in Bosnia. We just came from a war. We're not
Mm-hmm.
talking about roller coasters there. So everything here just scared them quite a bit. And it was like, you're not going to a sleepover at your friend's house. You're going to be allergic to the dog. We'd never have pets. So they were just pretty much afraid of everything until they got used to the US and the
Uh-huh.
fact that things are obviously culturally different. But the one thing they always said for me is you have to study, you have to read your textbooks. And I just remember telling my mom one day, I was like, I want to go see a movie with my best friend Liz. And she's like, have you read your bio book? And I was like, Mom, it's 700 pages. No, I haven't read it yet. You have the whole school year for it. And she's like, you're not going anywhere until you read at least the first 10 chapters. I'm like, we're not even on chapter 2 yet. Why would I read the first 10? But it was that mentality of like, you need to get ahead. You need to
Yeah.
be prepared. You need to read the next chapter, get an A, always be like kind of teacher's pet, but like not as a like apples to the teachers, but I was always ahead of the class in a sense. And that was something they instilled in me since the third grade, because that was my first grade when we came to the US. And it was a lot harder being raised, I think personally, by immigrant parents because they really do push you and they want you to be as good as you can be because you're coming to the country with nothing or you have no money and it's like you're going to have to get a scholarship. So you better get your
Hmm.
act together because I can't afford to send you to college.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it was very much the fact that we were immigrants in the US that made me a hard worker because my mom was just like, you got to keep pushing, you got to keep pushing, you need a scholarship.
It's almost kind of if you don't make something of yourself, then this was all a waste. So it's
Exactly.
almost like
It's like a lot of
it's like
pressure.
they guilt you.
Yeah.
Immigrant parents are like pretty much non-American parents. Like it's like part of their code.
Yep.
It's in their DNA. Like I'm gonna guilt you into doing something with your life because I sacrificed too much.
Absolutely. And the funniest meme I think I've ever seen, like there's some really funny memes, but the funniest one that I was like, this is 150% true was the one where so like the dad looks at you and he's like, how old are you? And you're like 17 and he's like, I was 16 when you were 17. And you're like, that doesn't even make sense, but your immigrant parents, like nothing is ever good enough. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's like I was doing that when I was 5. I'm like, how could you work when you were 5? It's like
Yeah.
I don't get it, but that's exactly
It
how
was
they
always
work.
harder
Like,
for them, no matter what you did. I went to
exactly.
war in Iraq. Well, you have tanks. I had to stand in a ditch,
Exactly.
with
It's like
30
always one
machine guns
upping.
strapped to me.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. 100%. And that's why it's so funny when I see that stuff. I'm like, immigrant parents are really hard on their kids, for sure.
Yeah, and I that's why I brought it up because it's like it at that point it seemed like you didn't have the one step up on everybody else, but growing through life and you know developing and personally and career wise and everything like that,
Yeah,
now you have the one step up on everybody else because that was life.
exactly.
Like you came from a country where like you're not just getting in the store ordering a lift to go get milk. It's walking 10 miles to go,
Yep.
or whatever it
Yep.
is, whatever the case is. And
Exactly.
so, um, what really kind of got you into skincare or wanting to start the blog and kind of going against the grain where it's obviously to get listeners and to capture an audience,
Yeah.
you need to say what they want to hear versus
Yeah.
you're sitting there saying like, no, it sucks. Kind of
So,
being more authentic.
yeah, I think I made that transition a little bit later in my career, but when I first started, it was really like Zoella and Michelle Phan were the really two big beauty influencers in the space. They were on YouTube and they were making, a couple $100s from YouTube at that time. And that was kind of the only way to make money. Brands weren't on board yet. They didn't understand the concept. And I think probably like 3 or 4 years into me doing this, I was like, screw this. I'm just going to be as honest and like to the point and just say things. I do cuss a lot. That's really part of my personality and my humor. And I was just like, this, effing sucks, or this product is a piece of poo, or whatever. Like I was just so honest about it to the point where people were like, this is actually entertaining, but also you're telling me like what you think about the product. And I realized in those first 3 years that no matter what I did, no matter how nice I was or how thoughtful or respectful I was with my reviews, there are always people who are going to be annoyed. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to think I'm lying for some reason, which I have no idea why. I wasn't getting paid in the beginning. And
Yeah.
it was like, why is this person telling me that the only reason I like this product is because I was paid by somebody? I'm like, nobody paid me to say anything. Like, I don't even talk to this brand. Like, I literally went to Ulta or Sephora and got this myself. And I just, at that point, like the first 3 years, I was like, people are going to be unhappy no matter what. Let me
Yeah.
just be who I'm going to be. And the people who like me, great, fantastic. We'll have this great synergy. The people who don't like me, oh, well, like, thank you next type of mentality,
It's like, thanks for the free real estate in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I love it. And so how do you think that has just helped you as a person? Obviously, in as a career path, people
Yeah.
are loving the authenticity. But how is that helping you kind of in your personal life? Because I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls, especially today, especially with social media, because everybody's using it with the filter. Like the
Yeah.
filter mindset, being like, oh,
Mhm.
people are only going to see what I want them to see, and be like, hey, that influencer's life isn't that glamorous. Like, you know what I mean? It's, they're seeing what you want them to
Yeah.
see, but at the same time, social media is really just going to expose people. And
Yep.
so being authentic is obviously the right way to go. But how are you seeing that it's really helping you on a personal level on just being 100% authentic right off the bat and not caring what anybody thinks? Because ultimately, nobody really cares.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you
So,
driving the car you're driving? Oh, to impress
right.
people that don't even care about you,
Right.
you know?
So I think the biggest piece of this that I've noticed, and I've really seen it, especially the last couple weeks, is people know that I'm not being bought out by a brand to share an opinion. And I was specifically talking about body contouring
Hmm.
and going and getting this procedure. It was cool sculpting. And it sucked for me. It was painful. It wasn't pleasant. It was not an easy experience. And their marketing is all about how it's so easy. And like the people in the marketing are smiling while literally a part of their body is being frozen off and you're killing those fat cells. And I just don't get that. It's just false advertising. And the person who's buying into the service thinks that they're going to be smiling, reading a book on a chair. And I'm like, you're literally in pain. Do you know what I mean? Like that is a
Yeah.
lie. They're selling you something that's like pain free and you're going to be fine when you leave. And I'm like, it was so painful for me. So when they had reached out to me, they're like, we want to hear your positive experience and we'd love to collaborate. And I was like, well, I'd like to share my real experience, not just, the positive because the results are positive, but the experience, I almost passed out the first time I went in there because nobody told me that you needed a full meal. I had a smoothie for breakfast. They're like, you need a full balanced meal because I got so lightheaded. I was like literally about to pass out. And no one told me that. And those are the types of things that I want to share with people and be like, listen, you should have a full meal. You may pass out. It's going to get you lightheaded. It's not super pleasant. Some people,
Yeah.
maybe their pain tolerance is better than mine, but I want to share my truth. And I'm not going to be paid by them to tell people that I had a positive experience. My friends would be like, girl, we got your text the day you almost passed out. We know the real experience. And that's where it's like you're being two different people. You're
Yeah.
being this person on camera to people who don't know you, but the people in your life who you vented to and talked to are like, she's lying over here. Do you know what I mean? So it
You'd
was,
be caught. You'd be caught.
yeah. And my friends are, they're
They put you on
Coloraders just
blast.
like me. Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, really? Was your positive
Twitter, like you're
experience
gonna
really
get
that bad?
tagged in everything. She's a liar.
Exactly.
She's a fake. Here's what
No,
really
they would
happened.
definitely be like, I thought you told me that you were in pain during this. Makes it seem like you really like this. And so I think that's been really important to me is like my friends and my family keep me honest. And I think it's better to be the same person across the board because over time I've met a lot of people who do follow me.
Hmm.
And when they're like, you're just like the person you are online in real life, that's music to my ears because I've met a lot of people
That's
too
the
in the
goal.
industry who I've seen their stories, I've seen their videos, and I'm like, wow, you're so bubbly and awesome. And who are you? Like, this is so cool. We could totally be friends. And then I meet them in person, and I'm like, I'd rather be talking to like anybody but you. Like, it's the night and day,
Yeah.
and you can't be that person because, like you said, you'll get exposed over time because where you
Yeah.
have to make public appearances, you got to be talking like on interviews and podcasts. And if you don't have that personality that you do have over here, it's just weird. It's like you're two different people and you have to be the same person.
Yep. Yeah, social media. It's gonna expose a lot of people, and they think they're getting away. It's like nice private jet. I know you jumped the fence to take the picture, you know,
Yep.
or you know what I mean. Like, hey, look at my 10 grand. It's like, okay, you can tell your dad to go put it back in the bank now. It's
Oh my gosh, those are my favorite. I'm like, why do we need to see this? And who actually has cash these days? I have a credit card. I don't want cash laying around the house.
Yeah,
Those photos always
and
make me
like
laugh. I'm
the
just
the
like,
cash ones
really?
or something. Like I get hit up a lot with this whole what is like the forex and crypto. Like people are hitting me. I get like 15, 20 DMs a day about like, oh, you got to jump on board. And all I do is click on the profile. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to pitch you on it because I start off like, if you're gonna try and pitch forex or anything like that, I'll tell you right now, I'm not interested. Oh no, I'm just trying to make a friend. And I go to their page and it's covered with the stuff, and it's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
come on, guy, like.
Yeah,
At least have a picture of yourself in there, not just money and Rolexes and Rolls Royces that I know you don't have.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
so
there's only a few people who actually live that lifestyle. Everyone else is just pretending.
they're not sitting here just DMing random people on Instagram
No,
either. You
absolutely not.
know, we have
Those
no.
random DMs are probably my biggest pet peeve, especially when people are trying to sell me a very particular skincare brand that I know is garbage. MLM system. And look, I love people having their own business and doing their own thing,
Uh-huh.
but MLMs are so annoying. Those people are just pitching you and they haven't even used the product. And
Yep.
I actually, this kind of reminds me back to what you said earlier, where you're like, what I wash my body with is what I wash my hair with. But I had one old coworker who told me that she uses Dove body soap for her face. Like that's her skincare routine. That's all she does, right?
I've heard that
She's
one. I've
literally
heard Dove is
selling,
good.
she's now selling the skincare brand with this MLM company. And I'm like, you were the one washing your face with Dove body soap. Don't come at me trying to sell me a serum. I've been trying to tell you about this for years, you know? And it's so ironic to me, but that's just, it seems like people will sell when there's like some kind of business behind it, but it's very interesting that it's like the Dove body soap turns into like full-fledged skincare routine. And I'm like,
Yeah.
huh? What?
It's like I changed my whole regimen now. It's like you used to spend $20 a nail, and now you're spending $200 a week. I don't think
Right?
so.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. I'm like, something's not right here. Like, how did this happen?
no, I love it, and I can stay on this topic forever. I
Yeah.
love talking crap about idiots.
Me too.
I mean,
Me
it's
too.
like hey, stupid. Good. Can I just? Where's the popcorn? Like, I want to say, we should just like start putting up random Instagrams in this feed and be like, what do you think about this one? Oh my God, we'd probably sit there forever. But anyway, really to kind of dive back into your world of expertise, give us some of the top 3-4 things that you're kind of working on. I know skincare obviously is one of them, so we'll kind of dive into some of the pros and cons, what maybe to get, what not to get, and and other things like that. I know you do some household stuff, and so we can kind of touch on those. So just kind of give us the rundown on what your kind of focuses are outside of skincare, and we'll kind of dive into them, and we can pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, so I have been working kind of hand in hand with more professional skincare companies. And I recently, literally yesterday, just did the Kylie skin review because people were losing their minds and they're like, we need to know about these products. And I was like, you all need to calm down, first of all. Like, you'll be okay, right? But I did that review because it's very popular. Everyone's wanting to know, like, how did Kylie Jenner do this new skincare line? Is it any good?
Because her mom's a business genius.
I know, man. Oh, I wish I had a Kris Jenner in my life.
For
Someone
real. Like
guiding me in that way.
everybody just thinks like, oh my God, it's just the Kardashians. I was like, no, mom's a business genius.
Exactly. Kris Jenner is literally momager.
She knows business.
She knows her stuff. Like she's killing it for all of them. And you kind of notice I follow them more heavily now than I ever did. Now that I am a business owner, and I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing, right? And it's all Kris. And you can kind of tell which sister has a launch like coming out and happening. And it's always staggered. It's like, okay, Kim's launching sunglasses. Now Kylie's launching skin. Now Kourtney's launching like a beauty subscription box. Like it's literally like boom, boom, boom.
And you see mom behind the scenes with the puppet. That's the puppet master.
Exactly. 100%. And then they all promote each other. Like,
yeah.
It's wonderful. She's doing such a good job. But I did that skincare review just because it was highly asked for, but I really like to focus on professional medical products. So products that are created by estheticians, products created by doctors, plastic surgeons, etc. So the one that I've been working on a lot with is Dr. Dennis Gross out of New York City.
Okay.
He is my favorite, like probably favorite person, favorite like doctor, dermatologist, all that stuff. And the reason I feel like the skincare works really well is because he's been treating patients for almost 2 decades. So he knows how people's skin responds to certain products, and his peel pads are the best product I've ever tried. Like, I mean, everybody should have his peel pads in their bathroom. It's just such a good product. And when I went and actually got treated by him, you know how some people get like really shy if they were to meet like Beyonce? Mm-hmm. I got really shy to meet him because I love his work. I love his skincare. Like I've seen his videos. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting Dr. Dennis Gross. Like that's where I nerd out because I love skincare so much. Whereas if I met Beyonce, hilarious. I'd be like, hey, Beyonce, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. With Dr. Dennis Gross, I was like fangirling, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But I've been doing a lot of work with them. And then over the past few years, I've also done a lot with Kiehl's,
Okay.
usually a brand most people know about. They do
Yeah.
have products for men as well, which is awesome. It's one of the brands that really does diversify between men and women. Usually it's like just a one standard line for everybody,
Hmm.
but they do have a couple different products for guys, which I always kind of liked, and they've expanded kind of into shampoo, conditioner. They even have like pet shampoo and conditioner, which is kind of interesting and kind of cool. But I've really just been focusing on a lot of their new launches and reviewing those products as well as other brands like skin, another one professionally made by doctors and dermatologists. And I do like the quality of those brands a lot better. But usually I'm kind of getting their new product ahead of time. So they'll say, like, hey, what do you think of this? Do you think
Hmm.
this will sell really well? Do you think the market here is someone younger, older? And I like giving that feedback and perspective because I've literally tried hundreds of skincare products. And if something does cause an irritation on my skin, like that's a really bad product because my skin, I've tried so much that, the redness and irritation doesn't always happen. So if it does, I'm like, this has to have some terrible chemicals in it. And sure enough, I look, if it's got fragrance, it's usually a bad sign. And because here in the US, you can basically hide 100 nasty ingredients or more under fragrance. And that's really where if brands don't want to list that ingredient, they're just putting it under fragrance, which is kind of like a scapegoat ingredient in general. And that kind of sucks that we don't have more regulation on it. So that's why I really focus on products where I can see every ingredient and there's only 5 to 10 ingredients and no fragrance. Those are usually the better quality products. Not in
So
every
Bath and Body Works.
awful, awful. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I've been
They're not selling products, they're selling smells.
they're selling smells and they're selling fragrance that's very toxic. And I hate saying it because I've been a Bath and Body Works fan forever. I'm part of this candle movement. I love their candles, but we're literally burning carcinogens in our living room. It is the truth. And we're literally basically exposing ourselves to more chemicals than we should be
Hmm.
because we're burning these products that have just a bunch of garbage in them. That's why they smell so good. Like we should have lavender and figs in our house rather than a chemical that has 100 different ingredients, making it smell like pumpkin cheesecake, you know?
What, is there a pumpkin cheesecake? Wow. I
How
would
should
have
I say
never.
that? They have like an apple
I know there's like
gingerbread.
pumpkin spice and stuff like that. Pumpkin
There's the
cheesecake.
pumpkin cheesecake one, and
I
it's my
kind of want to
favorite.
taste it.
Pumpkin cheesecake. You're like, I want to try this and eat it, not actually burn it in the house. But I mean, those are just chemicals. There's honestly sometimes not even any pumpkin in the actual ingredient. Like it's just all formulated with like chemicals that aren't good
100%
for us.
man made.
It's
Okay.
awful. It
So
makes me sad because I love all their stuff, but it's not good for us.
burn it, but outside at the barbecue.
Basically.
Where there's like airflow. So all the like you can smell it but it gets blown away.
Exactly.
Okay, and then so outside of kills, what are some of the so for the non-educated like me, what are some of the main things that we need to be looking out for ingredient wise? Obviously like the sodium like the sulfates and things of that sort in soaps and stuff like that. I know parabens are bad in lotions cuz that's pretty much just to extend shelf life, but it's
Yeah.
also going to stick cancer in your skin if you
Yep.
use it enough and stuff like that. So what are some of like the big red flags that you know of kind of because that's your world, but
Yeah.
then the everyday shopper that's just going to Walmart because they ran out of lotion, what are we looking for?
Okay, so pretty much everything at Walmart is going to be a red flag.
Okay.
I am recently on this train now where I really didn't know how bad a lot of the products and ingredients that I used were just so, so harmful. And I've been promoting these products for years because I like them.
Hmm.
I love Dove body wash. It foams up. You already mentioned this, but things that foam up like that, usually not a good sign. Shampoo that just lathers and foams, and you're like, wow, I have bubbles on my head, not a good sign. The less foam, the less lather, like actually the better it is for you.
Hmm.
And that's why when you go to like Lush Cosmetics, you get their shampoo. You're like, am I washing my hair? Because it doesn't feel like shampoo. It doesn't feel like the traditional product that we would use, and we would feel that lather and we'd have bubbles on our head.
Yeah.
The products that don't give you that lather and that foam and that bubble are the good ones. So I honestly think brands like Lush Cosmetics are doing a great job. There are even some good brands in Walmart, but when they say organic, not always organic. You kind of look through, and unfortunately, the FDA in the US is not very strict. Things can be organic
There's
without
organic
actually having
ingredients.
exactly like they can have one or two non-organic. There's a percentage that they have to meet in order to classify as organic, but that doesn't mean that it 100% is. So
Uh-huh.
we just don't live in a very regulated country where these ingredients are they should be banned first of all, but also we can get away with saying it's organic or it's healthy or it's non-toxic or it's vegan and it's this and that and it's like, well, is it really? Because technically, when you start to figure out these factories are all sharing the same space and it's like it's not really vegan, it's not really gluten free, so it does get really tricky. But an interesting fact I learned recently is that there's over 10,000 ingredients banned in Europe and the UK, and we barely even have 100 banned. And that's just in the beauty space. So
Wow.
we're literally using a bunch of garbage in our products. And the problem is those garbage ingredients are making the product cheaper. And you have these retailers like a Walmart where people are just buying in mass and they're buying that Dove body soap in a massive, container,
Yeah.
and they're going to use that forever, and they're going to know that they love that foaming lather and the smell of it is intoxicating. It does smell good, but it's not good for you. So you kind of know when things are lathering, foamy, the smell is really strong, they're not going to be good for you. So my recommendation is really not to buy body products from Walmart. And I've actually even gone and removed all of my household cleaning products that we always got from Walmart
Yeah.
completely out of my house because those are all terrible chemicals for you. And I've gone online to Thrive Market and just bought everything there. Just literally threw everything away and repurchased and spent like $300, got like new like mop soap and dish soap and all that stuff because
Hmm.
I'd rather have the ingredients that are better for me and basically not expose myself to as many carcinogens because you're going to get them anyway. We have smog and everything that's outside, all of that
Yeah.
pollution is going to give us enough exposure. I don't need to be rubbing carcinogens on my body to get, some kind of moisture when I can just use something that's more natural and that doesn't have those ingredients. So it does get a little bit tricky, but we do have a harder time here in the US because we're more exposed to bad products than we are to good.
No, that makes sense. And I've actually heard that too. I didn't realize the numbers were that drastic on the banned um, ingredients between here and the UK. I knew it was a big difference, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was that much. What are some of the negatives as to kind of why what's behind some of the passion? What are some of the negative effects that are caused by using these products?
The biggest one that I'm kind of really pushing at the moment is with deodorant specifically. And aluminum is really disruptive to the body. And there's been more and more research coming out, and this is especially for women, where the amount of aluminum in some of these deodorants, especially when we're getting clinical strength, you're like, I want the strongest thing. I don't want to smell. I don't want to sweat. Well, those are actually now being linked to breast cancer and a higher cause of breast cancer because the aluminum is so much closer to like the breast area. It's literally your armpit. So there's more and more research on that, which is really sad. And it kind of reminds me of like the tobacco movement a couple decades ago, where
Yeah.
you kind of start to figure this out over time and a lot of research and money is put towards it. But aluminum is awful, awful, awful for our bodies. It's basically suppressing the sweat. This is why you don't sweat. But in a normal body, as humans, we have to sweat.
Yeah.
It has to come out of your body somehow. And the fact that it's literally suppressing it is so bad. You're keeping the toxins in your body that should be leaving your body. So that's the first big, thing about aluminum is that it's not letting you sweat, which is not good for you. And then the other thing too is aluminum really does imbalance your hormones. So other things start to go wrong when your body's kind of off balance. This is
Hmm.
where, and this is me kind of speaking in terms of articles I've read all over. I'm not a medical expert or scientist, but these types of things can cause mood swings, irregular periods, things that do really affect your everyday. You may not even
Yeah.
notice, or you may think it's normal. You may think it's normal that you have, stomach aches all the time or a headache all the time. It's just a hormonal imbalance that's caused by using these products. So it does get really extreme. And for years and years, almost what, 25 years, I didn't even realize that was bad for me. I was like, I don't want to sweat. I don't want to smell. And I kept trying to give natural deodorant a chance. I was like, this is awful because you just smell so bad for like weeks, because your
Your
body
body's
is
getting rid
literally
of everything.
detoxifying and it's getting rid of those bad ingredients. And it does take a while. And usually most people get impatient and they're like, I smell too bad, can't do this, done, going back to like Dove, Secret, whatever. And that's just not the way it should be. We should not be using aluminum. And that's really been kind of the biggest one that I've been talking about lately because
Okay.
of how much I've read about breast cancer being linked to it, hormonal imbalance, and then kind of affecting like your everyday body functions. Like I said, with like your monthly cycle, all of that stuff. I mean, that's pretty drastic, and people aren't really talking about that. They're just like, got deodorant on, don't smell bad,
Yeah,
that's
you,
all they
you
care
wouldn't
about. It's
you
like, no,
wouldn't think to
no,
link
no.
the two. And then also,
Yeah.
I just had a call with some people who are more in the nutrition field, and they linked that too, where like if you're having mood swings and things of that sort, like something is wrong. The big kick now is like the gut health, like
Yep.
the health of
And
your
that's something
gut.
I've been trying to do a little bit more research on too. I just did one of those gut tests. It's a terrible process doing one of those. Terrible process.
So what had happened was,
I mean, I sent in my sample. I'm waiting for the results so it can tell me what I should and shouldn't eat. But it kind of, we're in this phase where people are trying to figure out what kind of diet we should be on based on our blood type or based on how our body processes food. So it is interesting. I think there is really a lot of science and a lot to be said behind like what your gut does. If
yeah.
your body doesn't process red bell peppers, for example, like shouldn't be eating those because you're going to
Hmm.
have a stomach ache, you're going to feel terrible. You may not be allergic to it, but your body doesn't like it. So therefore you should stay away from it. So I do think some of that really does play a big part of that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that people are getting more knowledgeable about it because, again, that's another thing I just did. So I'm like, okay, what is it going to tell me? I hope it doesn't tell me I can't have wine because that'll be a problem.
No, you're fine. That's what they say. What is the joke? Like if a glass of wine a day is good, then a bottle must be better or something like that. I don't know.
I like
I've seen
that.
that
I haven't
somewhere.
heard that. That's going to be my new tagline.
You better tag me and be like, thanks. And then, so outside of household products, skincare, you touched on deodorant. What about lotions? Because we're heading into summer season, right? So everybody's going to be going to the beaches,
Yes,
lakes,
yes.
whatever it is. So sunscreen, body lotions. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Is sunscreen actually linked to cancer? Because 10 million people say yes, and 10 million people say no. And then there's me who, if I put it on, I
Doesn't
do.
know.
If I don't, then I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. I'm born and raised in Hawaii, so sun is my norm. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna run away from it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get cancer because the sun touched me. It's like, I'm gonna die if the sun doesn't touch me. Like, I want to burn.
Yep. Yeah, so sunscreen is another one of those hot topics lately. And this is also lack of information and, more research is coming out. But the banana boats of the world haven't done anything for us except keep a sunburn off our body if we keep reapplying. Again, really bad chemicals in some of those generic sunscreens, and they're not actually protecting us from long-term damage. So what we really need is products that have zinc oxide. And these products usually come from more professional brands like an Elta MD, Elastin, brands that are in dermatologists' offices. But zinc oxide basically reflects the sun's rays off of your body and shoots them back into the world. But in that process, you're not getting the long-term sun damage, which especially for people who have like very light skin, you're getting that wrinkle, that premature aging, the wrinkles, the crow's feet, the sunspots, all of those things that you don't want, redness on your cheeks, all of that stuff is basically a result of us not having products with zinc oxide in them. Because while you may not have gotten sunburned by using SPF, you do have that long-term aging because you still got damage to your skin. So people are getting more aware of that now too, which is awesome. And I think, the 10, 12-year-olds today are going to look so freaking good in 50 years. Whereas, the past 20, 30 years, we've all just been like, yeah, tanning oil. This is definitely helping me get a tan. You have no idea how shrivelly and wrinkled your skin's going to look in 20 years. And we're paying the price for that now, like generation older than me, I'm like, oh yeah, you definitely did some tanning bed stuff. I can tell, like
Yeah.
see that on people's skin. So I do think anything with zinc oxide is going to be key, especially for your face. But always
What
wearing
are some of the
SPF.
products
So
that you would
Elta,
recommend for somebody going into the sun?
yes, so Elta MD is probably my favorite sunscreen at the moment. They do have a body sunscreen, they have a face sunscreen, but they have zinc oxide in there. So that's awesome. You always want to have that active zinc ingredient. And then I also like Alastin. It's Alastin. They have a huge range of products. And again, these brands are so much smaller because they're a little bit harder to find and a little bit harder. They don't really do as much marketing as a banana boat, and
Yeah.
trying to think of that blue sport labeling sunscreen that I've seen for years. I can't think of it at the moment, but some of those more generic ones that you always see are not good for us. They have some of those same ingredients that I mentioned to you that will cause hormonal imbalance long term and do have carcinogenic elements to them. So really focusing on the ones that are coming out of a dermatologist's office are going to be a lot better. Unfortunately, they are more expensive because they're harder to make, they have better ingredients, and they have the zinc that you really need. So usually the price tag is going to be a little bit more hefty on those, and sometimes it's $50 to $100 for just one bottle
Hmm.
versus what you're used to with Banana Boat is like $9 for the whole
Five,
bottle,
ten
for
bucks.
the
Yeah.
whole family, but it's not actually protecting you. So I'm glad people are getting more aware of that, but that would be the biggest thing is a sunscreen. But I think wearing a hat really does help quite a lot to protect your face and your neck. And I love those really big round hats because they're actually protecting more of like the top of your shoulders. And those always seem to burn for a lot of people because it's literally like the top of your body.
Yeah.
So those really long brimmed hats are perfect for that. And then I always like to wear kind of like, cover up and longer clothing, even if I'm out at the beach, because I'm kind of afraid of the sun. I know you love the sun, but in Arizona, Arizona is the second highest state that has skin cancer, and it's right behind Australia. So we have so much sun here that I am afraid to go outside. If I'm
I
going to be
just got
outside, I'm
back
like,
from
I'm
there.
wearing
I
everything.
loved it.
I'm wearing like full bodysuit if I'm going outside in the sun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were just at the Canby,
Okay, I love
for
that. The autograph
yeah,
hotel. Yeah,
yeah. So we were just
love
because
that
right
property.
after, yeah, once we got everything packed up, we stayed at the Canby. I like the place. So we were out by the pool, and then we had the umbrella. But then there are people just standing in the sun. It's just like, yeah, this is normal.
Yep, I know. People go to Vegas and they bask out in the sun, and I see that. I'm like, get out of the sun.
No, you need to. Some vitamin D is
You
good.
need a little bit vitamin D, just not 5 hours of sunbathing outside.
I think I need a lot more just because I was born and raised in it. That's
Yeah.
my norm. So like I get like it mess like I can feel it like mess with me like when it's just because in Washington where it's just all overcast 10 and a
Yeah.
half months out of the year I'm just like give me the flipping sun like
Yeah.
holy crap.
And actually, in your case, the sun is better for you because the overcastness gives you more rays and beams that are bad for you. The sun is not as bad as what you have, really. I mean, you know what they say is you actually get more sunburnt when you go outside and it's overcast.
Because
It's
you don't
kind
even
of
feel
crazy.
it. Yeah,
No,
you
you don't
can't
even
even
feel it. You're
tell.
just like, oh, I'm going to be out here all day. And then you're like, why does my skin feel like it's about to fall off my face? Like I feel so dry.
Yeah, no kidding. And so skincare, you're in skincare, you're in beauty products, health products, and cleaning products, making sure everybody's living a healthier life. But what really kind of helped drive the work ethic behind it? Like, because this didn't happen overnight. This,
Nope.
it was in obviously there was that you still had that immigrant, attitude about it where it's like, hey, if I want something to happen, I'm going to make it happen. And so for the young, 16-year-old girl who thinks she wants to be a blogger, kind of give her the honest feedback on good luck because so does every other,
Yeah,
thousand people want to do it, but then they see it's like becoming an actor or an actress. It's like,
exactly.
sure, it sounds like it's fun and games, but it's 20 hours a day for 10 years.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because this is honestly like the most asked question I get, and people are trying to figure out how they can make money like right away.
I
And
think
I'm
that's the
like,
biggest problem is they're
do you
trying to
even
make money
have
right
an
off the way.
Instagram? Yeah, I'm like, are you even on Instagram? Like where like it just like blows my mind. They're just like, how do I make enough money to pay for my rent in 2 weeks? I'm like, well, I
Get
don't
a
know if I can help
job.
you with that. Yeah, get a job. But I think people do think that I sit on Facebook all day. Like everybody older than me thinks I sit on Facebook all day. I'm like, I'm not even on Facebook. First of all, Facebook is dying. That's like old news. And they just think that I'm on social media. They don't understand how much goes into one photo. And I have a full team of people who help me create almost every piece of content I have. I have a social media manager who helps me respond to comments and responds to our DMs to make sure people are getting responses and they feel like there's actually a person there. My assistant helps me with creative concept. So if I have a brand or a product in mind, I'm like, okay, I want to use this Kiehl's Glow Hydrator. How does this make sense into like a summer tips? Like brainstorm about this. You know, the photographer and videographer who's actually helping bring this concept that we've kind of thought through to life. And people don't understand that in the very beginning, you are literally that one person that has 10 jobs. Like I had to photograph, I had to make my video, I had to do my own makeup, I had to do my own hair, I had to like style my own outfits. Then it was like I did all the writing, like I've sent my invoices, like I literally did every piece of the business. And now thankfully I have help because the amount has gotten so big that
To the
it just
point.
requires more people. And also the quality of content that I'm going for requires professional video and photos. So it's insane that people think like, oh, you just walk into a photo shoot and it's like, oh, it's like being a model. And that's definitely not the case. You have to plan everything. You have to strategize. You had to have pitched the brand to gotten the deal. Like there is so much that goes into it, but it is really truly building a business. It's not just taking pretty photos with your phone. There is so much work that goes into it, a lot of strategy. You have to be business smart because unfortunately brands will try to take advantage of you. If they
Yeah.
can get something for free or for very cheap, they will. But you need to know that you have to fight back. You need to know how to negotiate your contracts. You need to know what clause in a contract is not going to be beneficial for you and that you shouldn't sign that contract. You know, you're going to need a lawyer. Like there's so many parts to it that you really do need kind of a step-by-step guide. And it's not just like, oh, we're going to take a photo of our cappuccino today and that's what I'm going to post. It's like, no, that is not the case at all. And when we go on vacation, everyone's like, oh, your life is so hard.
The
You're in
first half of it
Hawaii,
is
six
creating
photos.
content.
Literally all you do, you wake up at the crack of dawn so you can get the photos where no one is around. That's how you
Yeah.
get those photos. You're up at 4 a.m. as the sun's rising. There's nobody at the pool for a reason. It's 6 in the morning, you
Yeah.
know, but you got up to get that photo. And there's just so many elements to it that it's a lot of hard work and you are working constantly because it's your brand. And I honestly don't do anything that's not going to benefit me in some way. Unless it's benefiting a friend or the brand, I'm not doing it. So, for example, if someone's like, "Do you want to go to happy hour?" I'm like, "Are we catching up? Like, did I already just see you? Like,
What
what
is
am
the
I
reason
doing here?"
behind it? Yeah.
Yeah, like, what am I losing if I go hang out with you and I'm not working on this content that I have a due date of? You know, it's like always a give and take. Like, how are you like furthering my business if I'm taking the time to spend to go do this thing, you know? And that's how I think all the time because there's only so many hours in a day and you have to really prioritize that time. But honestly, thinking back to like my early days, I worked all the time on the blog. Like I would do 12 hours like blogging and commenting and engaging with people. And then I had a corporate job. So I slept like 4 to 5 hours a night if I was lucky because I
Hmm.
wanted this blog to work out for me. And most people don't start off making any money from the blog. So you're going to have to do the 20-hour day
Yeah.
because you're going to have to make that income somewhere else until you get to a point where you can make income here. And it could take a year, it could take 5 years, but it's a lot easier today to make money when you have like 2,000 followers because now brands are paying like, oh, you want to post about this product, you get $50. And people are like, that's amazing. So you can make money earlier on now
Hmm.
because brands want to spend less money on some of the bigger influencers, but you still have to work hard. You have to be a professional, respond to emails, like all of that stuff. And people just do not realize like you are running a full operation with one person until you get to a point where you can hire help, which is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while to get
Yeah.
to a point where you should have an assistant, you know?
So what are some of the lessons you've learned kind of along the way? Obviously, make sure you're reading the legal jargon and, figuring out that clause. My guess is that was a loss, or you got an L a few times from not paying attention to the details, or it's like, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah, I was
that
like,
sucks.
Oh, that thing I signed?
That's not my signature. It was my twin.
That's not my name. I think the biggest lesson is if you're signing a big deal, just have a lawyer look it over and pay them an hour, 2 hours, because that was probably like you said, one of my biggest losses when I collaborated with another brand to create a product. I didn't read some of the fine print. I didn't have a lawyer, but I was signing this deal to do a big project. And I should have hired someone to read through this. Mm-hmm. That was not just me. That was not just my best friend, professional, really.
Somebody who understands law.
Yep. Someone who understands reading 16 pages of legal jargon and can literally find every sentence that is not to your benefit and why. Because I definitely lost out on very small technicalities that, it could have been the difference of, okay, if we sell X amount, you're making this percentage. If you sell this amount, you're making this percentage. Those types of things, you really need to make sure somebody else helps you, because that's a huge loss on your business if you're just slightly under or slightly over. Like, there's so many brands really do try to take advantage, and you just have to have someone on your side who understands it, who can help you make the most amount of money and get the fairest contract in place. So that would probably be my biggest piece of advice. But also
pay the expert.
Yeah. And then also a lot of platforms that basically link brands and influencers, they ask for rights of your photos. That's a big, big, big deal. And people don't even realize when they're submitting content through those platforms that they're literally giving away the rights to their photos, which their photographer may not even know. If your best friend took the photo on their cell phone, like, nobody cares. But if a photographer who, charges for copyright finds out, all of a sudden their photo is on this huge national campaign, that's a problem. So you really do need to make sure that when you are submitting content that you still own the rights to those photos unless the brand has paid for that. So that's something that I've seen a lot of people taking advantage of, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just saw a Facebook ad with this brand. It wasn't even for, this brand, but it's like, you don't have any copyright ownership if you submitted through this platform. Like, you're basically giving it away. So you have to be very clear about that too, because that could be an issue with the photographer down the road.
Wow. I would have never thought about that. I guess it's a good thing I'm not a blogger. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I'm starting to do videos, so we'll get there.
You could be a vlogger, or a vlogger, but as my old boss used to call it, a vlog, because he didn't know that it was one word.
Vlog. I thought about it, but then it's like I don't. At this point, it's like I'm not out there doing, because if you're doing a vlog, then you got to be out there and doing a whole bunch of stuff, and like you got to be doing stuff to create the content. And I'm like, I think people are gonna want to, like, hey, here I am, still sitting at my desk.
It could be like
same thing I've been doing since 8 o'clock this morning. That's what one of my friends said. He was like, oh, so with the because he saw, like, I told him about some of the speakers that I was having on, like, been featured in Forbes and Real Estate Mogul and all. They're like, wow, these are all big people. It's like, oh, you're pretty much going to be the Larry King just in podcasts. I'm like,
exactly.
Sure, I'll take that. Like that, he's accomplished a little bit,
Yeah.
That's all.
A little.
He's just like an icon. I'll take that. It's going to take me a little while, so don't call me that just yet. But but yeah, it'll be fun. But yeah, it's work. So that's why I was like, I thought about the vlog thing, and I was like, my life's not that interesting. Not yet, anyway.
That's how I feel. I mean, to be honest with you, you see these people on yachts, and they make it seem like they're on a yacht all year, and it was literally one trip.
Yeah, they just took a lot of pictures.
Yeah, they just took like a bunch of pictures. They like changed outfits. They took it at different angles. It's like one is their face, one's their whole body. Like, I just know that game.
It's
and
marketing.
I don't. Yeah, it's all just marketing. But it's just so funny when people are like, "Your life is so amazing" on some of these people's profiles, and I'm like, this girl went on this trip like 2 years ago. She's posting about this trip like 2 years after the fact, making you think that she's like wanderlusting all over the world. It's like, no, she's not actually doing this now.
Some of the funny ones are, it's like, or she's like, obviously just some single world traveler where she's making all the money. It's like, yeah, you don't want to know what she had to do to get that trip. Or what she has to do to keep getting the trips.
Yeah.
It's like she doesn't really love the guy that she's with him. you know.
Yeah, that's true. Those are the sad ones. I've actually seen a couple of those recently, and I'm like, oh,
Oh
that's kind
yeah,
of sad.
you did it for the gram.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I know I don't want to take up too much time. So where can people find you? Because I do think that all the stuff that you are putting out there, people need to hear it more. These are topics that are coming up more and more. That's why there's so much conversation about gut health. Obviously, skincare has been around for a while, but there's so many new things that are popping up. Like every other week, there's a new
Yep.
skincare line that's out
I
there.
know.
And then
I
you have the
know.
celebrities pushing things because of their name, like the
Yep.
Kylie Jenners. But hey,
Yep.
Chris, if you're looking for an adopted son to take
I
onto
know.
your
I'm
business,
like,
bring it
Chris
on.
Jenner, will
I
you
will
take us?
accept it. Like,
We're like, will you take
me
us
and
on
Ada
with
will
you?
go. Like, let's go. But like, hey, I won't change my last name to Kardashian, but you can help market me. But outside of that, just the information that you're putting out. So where can people find you?
So people can find me pretty much all day, every day on Instagram at Attitude. It's AAUDE. And then I'm also on my blog, which is attitude.com, ADAATUDE.com. And I really spend most of my time on those two platforms. I occasionally tweet and pin some things, but really mostly on Instagram and the blog.
Okay. And then do you have the website as well?
Yes, so it's
You
just attitude.com.
Attitude, just that one right there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, give her a follow and make sure you don't spend too much time in the sun. Otherwise she's gonna look at you with like the devil eyes and be like, I told you not to do that.
Well,
And
yeah, we'll have to talk in 10 years when they come to maybe I'll have a skincare line. They come to me and they're like, I spent a lot of time in the sun. I'd be like, remember that podcast I was
zinc
on? You should have
oxide,
listened.
sucker. Jeff was paying attention. No, I didn't. I just peeked at my notes because I knew it was important and I was going to bring it up later. Anyway, thank you for your time. I look forward to, following you and learning a lot more and keeping tabs on you. And we will talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a
Take
pleasure.
care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast. I know a bunch of you haven't subscribed yet. Also, don't forget to follow me on social. You look me up, The Real Driver Bill. Also on Instagram, we have our Blast Talks podcast page. Make sure you subscribe and follow both of those accounts to make sure you're staying up to date on all the new content, all that fun stuff. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.